Sometimes it's awkward to start these things, I feel like.
Why?
But
we're here in Cameron's room.
I don't feel awkward.
we're here in Cameron's room. So,
You were real comfortable for a guest on a podcast, you know that?
Why?
I know it's been a while, Dylan, but I gotta start our audio thing.
Oh, there we go.
Hello, I am Mason Banks.
I am Dylan. Am I still Dill Pickle Hoban?
Whatever you want.
I am Dylan Dill Pickle Hoban.
And welcome to Opening the Vault. And we have with us today Jill Jones. You can say hi, Jill.
Hi, Mason. And I'm sorry, what was your name?
Dylan Dill Pickle
Ah, yes.
Hoban. That's in quotes. Patent.
Phew.
So, Jill, you've joined us before briefly with when we were talking with Braulio and Jatalia, and we didn't have, I don't think, a structured topic that day. We were just kind of talking about stuff.
It ended up being about Steven Universe.
I remember it was
exclusively.
kind of focused on comedy.
Yeah, we
Because
did.
Probably was a funny guy.
And he talked about art therapy a little bit.
Yeah.
And using his art and his comedy and acting to get through whatever he's going through in life. And but that was a great conversation. We're hoping to have another great one with Jill.
With Jill. So like, it's been a couple months, and we apologize for that, but I don't know. I'm really happy that we're back to this personally. I don't know. I didn't think I was gonna be excited as I was, but then we were setting it up, and your mom and Cam were like, Cameron was like asking me questions about it. I was like, no. See, that doesn't do that for sound. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm getting excited.
We have changed locations from the wonderful SDSU Love Library to my home in my sister's bedroom because it's the quietest place in the house right now.
And so today we are talking about pretty much Jill and I are working at San Diego Fair, and Dylan had a good idea to talk about, because both of our shows are geared towards children essentially, and pretty much dramatic versus acting for children, and if anything changes in our opinions, and then really improvisation, because Jill, you have some improv experience, right?
A lot of what we say in the show was improv, and now it's turned into, we pretty much say that around the same thing every time. But yeah, and then if somebody in the audience gives us something, then
You work with
it's fair game.
I like that. Cause
No pun intended.
Gosh, yours right there.
It's about her feet are on your knees. So like I like that because I feel like it promotes more like an active show, and people are like engaged, and then they feel more involved. And that's what I found with our show, at least, is like we started with the script, and the script we thought was pretty funny, and then it was funny with adults, and then we realized that the kids wanted stuff that was more gonna draw them in. Yeah. And so we've transitioned more to a audience participation, like rather than like the first two stages of our, because we're the Great Taffy Pull, sorry, and Jill's show is called.
We should talk a little bit about what the program is, because it's kind of confusing. It's not like it's completely unique to the San Diego County Fair. There's nothing like it at any fair.
True.
In the entire state, which is actually pretty cool to be able to say that. There's nothing like this program.
Well, what is this program?
It is the San Diego County Fair acting troupe. So there's 3 different groups. 2 of them were originally from Grossmont Community College. 1 was originally from SDSU's musical program. So all of the band members in the band this year is called Sweet Sounds.
Yes.
They're originally from SDSU. A lot of them graduated the first year that we started this. So they graduated in 16.
Yeah.
And they went right into this. So they're all like music education teachers.
Yeah.
And they're all great. They're really great. So their troupe, their little that little subsection of the troupe, they travel around the fair doing songs, and they have instruments, and they're a band. And then the 2 Grossmont troops were founded from Jerry Hager's coach.
Yes.
His
Jerry Hager, aka Coach.
His mime troupe. So all of us were selected because we were a part of his mime class. A couple of us had taken it for a few years. A few of us were newer.
So it was offered every semester?
The mime class?
Yes.
Yes. The mime class was offered every semester, I think, in the spring.
Okay.
And then, so we did a show called Enchanted Theater with that. And so everybody that was a part of that class during that year, he was like, I have this opportunity because Coach is getting older and he wants to carry on his legacy at the fair. He's been there for 30 years.
Yeah.
He's
been at the fair himself for 30 years
He's been
doing
a performer at the fair for 30 years. And
various things.
Well, his act, he had a partner.
Right. Yes. I remember that being mentioned.
Yeah, so Jerry had a partner, and his name is escaping me. But basically his partner got in an accident last year. And so this year he didn't come back. And they did like a mime/clowning routine at the fair. And everybody at the fair just loved them. And they made their way. And they have this awesome cart that they decorate every year. This year he is Pops. And then his little partner is a doll called Lolly. So
yes.
Lolly and Pops.
The theme this year is How Sweet It Is.
How sweet it is.
It's candy central, and there's all sorts of candy stuff and sugar. And
so he's like a little ice cream truck going around. And okay, so the two Grossmont troops were divided into... Originally, it was just two groups that were separated and did different stuff during different times. But then last year, it was divided into an acting troupe and a dance troupe.
Yes, I remember that. I remember being told that.
Yes, so both years I've been a part of the dance troupe.
Okay.
And you are a part of the acting troupe.
The acting troupe.
Mm-hmm. But all three of the groups together make the San Diego County Fair acting troupe.
Yes.
So it's a little confusing. It's hard to explain to somebody when they're like, what do you do at the fair? You're like, I don't know.
Well, at least we've been able to tell people that we act.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm a paid actor.
Yeah.
And it's a decent amount. It's more so than I've been paid at most jobs, which I'm very happy to think about. I'm like, yes, I can file that away in my little confidence booster for later.
It is an amazing resume builder, honestly, to be able to put that on your resume that you worked at the fair as a performer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's,
doing 3-4 shows a day.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
That's... Then the fair runs 28 days.
Yeah. It's a grueling...
It's rigorous.
Mm-hmm.
Grueling gig, though. It is not just fun games.
Yeah, and we, speaking of the fair and the schedule, we do, although we did originally do 5 days a week, this last stretch is from Wednesday
to the next Wednesday. So it's 8 days in a row. And so today's Monday. We only have 2 days left.
But I'm hoping to...
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. But it's like our shows actually are free. So a lot of things in the fair, they cost tickets. If you see the concerts or anything else, usually they cost money besides the normal like small activities. So our shows are free, which I like. And there's a couple of other ones, like the sweetest show on earth.
Yeah.
And they're pretty sweet. They actually helped plug us today.
Oh, that's great.
At the end of the show, they're like, yeah, you should check out any of the other free shows. In fact, and they called our show by the wrong name. We are called, by the way, the Great Taffy Pull, and Jill's show is called The Candy Lab. But they're like, the show after us is called 3 O'Clock Fun. So they were like, yeah, go check out the other free show, 3 O'Clock Fun, which will be right over there. And I was like,
close.
It was very touching. I was like, because we do a lot of the barking for our show.
Sure.
Like we go around and like sometimes you get a lot of people, sometimes you don't. But with their help, we got a decent crowd from the get-go.
That's good.
It was nice.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Actors helping actors.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that when I talk to other actors about the fair and like the uniqueness of the performance experience is like the spontaneity of the shows. Because you guys aren't listed anywhere in the program.
We are.
Really?
Our 11:30 show is listed.
Where? In the map?
In the map.
No way.
We're listed there, and we are listed. So in that little map you get at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
we are listed there, and we are listed that we perform at 1:00 in the theme building. Even
No
though
way.
our show is actually at 1:15, but it's just a small oversight because at least
Wow.
people are. Are you guys listed?
We're only listed in the theme building. It's like
On
posted
the little
Yeah.
in the theme
schedule,
building.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but all three of your shows are in the theme building.
Yeah.
So it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I tip your hat to that.
Yeah, that's cool. I think last year it wasn't listed anywhere. And I know I've seen Sweet Sounds in the map, the band, in the map this year.
Yes.
So they're getting better about
Promoting you guys.
promoting us, but also like I don't know, one of my favorite parts about the experience is the spontaneity of it. Like these people walk into the theme building and they have no idea that we're going to be doing a show, and then it starts, and like I've literally seen people like do a double take and be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And
Same.
then sometimes people stay the entire 20 minutes and sometimes they leave.
Yeah.
But like we had this lady come up to us today, not even in the theme building, we were walking back, and she like stopped us and she was like, can we please get a picture with you? You guys were so great. You made going into the theme building worth it. Like she was like way over the top with it, but like her kids were like really sweet, and like her husband was even like into it. So there are some people that like really dig it, and she's like, I'm gonna put this on the website and talk about you guys. I was like, what website?
I'm sure they accept like emails and
Yeah.
people sharing. It's nice when people share positive experiences, things. I think a lot of times now, and I might have said this in previous podcasts, just that there's a lot of negativity going on. There's a lot of everybody's complaining about this and that, and I like to see examples of people putting out things that they enjoy, so other people can be like, hey, somebody enjoyed this. Maybe I could try this and enjoy that. Even if they don't, you can maybe encourage them to share something positive. Anyway, so we talked about the fair, and
Well, I'm sure we'll come back to that. I had a few baseline questions we usually start with, but we went into the fair first.
We got so excited.
Well, the fair is an exciting thing, and it's what you both are doing right now, so it's very relevant. But we usually like to start by asking our guests about their start in acting and first roles, most memorable, most important roles.
Like what would get you interested in this, and whatever you're comfortable sharing. It's very. I want it to be like we want it to be very conversational.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I don't know. I think that some of us are born, with the gene for being social, for being outgoing, and then some of us kind of adapt it throughout childhood and then into adulthood. I was just born outgoing, and it scared the living shit out of my parents. My parents were both very shy people. And so when I came out singing and dancing, like basically right out of the womb, they were like, what in God's name is this? Like, what do we do with this? Because I would approach strangers in grocery stores and like ask them questions about their lives. I would watch Disney movies and literally verbatim recite them and perform the movies for my parents. So they're like, okay, we have this. What do we do with it? Let's put her in cheerleading.
Oh.
That did not work.
I'm sorry.
What age was that?
That was probably...
Probably 8.
That was, maybe
Whoa,
even
really?
younger.
Oh,
I think
jeez,
like
I was
6.
kidding.
I think I was like 6 when they brought me into like a gym. And like I'd always done like gymnastics and stuff, but like, cheerleading is like really like peppy and outgoing.
Yeah.
But I didn't give a shit what I looked like. And that was like I was just too creative for that. It's an art form for sure, and I appreciate cheerleaders for what they are. But it wasn't for me in that like I wanted something with more substance.
Yeah.
And so my parents figured out like, okay, there's this thing called the FAME program at Flying Hills Elementary School where you have to audition. It's grades 3 through 6. So they pulled me out of 2nd grade I was going to this other elementary school. They pulled me out. I auditioned for their program and I got in. I did a yo-yo routine.
I've heard of this yo-yo routine.
Was it one of those big ones that they used to sell?
No, it was a tiny little yo-yo, and I knew a bunch of tricks.
I might have to go into my brother's room and find one of his yo-yos so you can do a live demonstration of this.
They let me in for some reason, and we did probably the most memorable show that we did when I think I was in 5th grade. We did Pirates of Penzance.
Yes. Yes, I did that show right before I
Can
came.
you imagine
a
bunch of 5th and 6th graders doing the Pirates of Penzance?
I can. Because it's very family friendly, so everybody loves that show.
It was ridiculous. So that was 5th grade. And then in 6th grade we did Cinderella. I was really upset because my friend Jessie got to play the queen. And I did not have a main role. And I was really upset about it because Jessie and I looked exactly the same. We were about the same level of talent, but she was just a little prettier than me.
Oh yeah.
So she was the queen, and I was so jealous. But I did it all through elementary school, and then into middle school. I went to a brand new middle school, so we started our drama club. So we did High School Musical, we did Dracula, we did I don't even know.
The Shakespeare's.
No, we didn't do any Shakespeare. No Shakespeare.
That's interesting.
I didn't cut my teeth on Shakespeare until I got into high school. I was Titania in A Midsummer Night's Dream. That was my first Shakespeare role. I spiked my hair into 3 big spikes. I'm not joking.
Yeah,
it was this tall.
The pictures are great.
I was also the costume designer for that show. And the only costume I designed was mine. And boy did I get some flack for that. I didn't know, I had no idea what I was doing. I was the theater club president in my junior year, and then I was the vice president my senior year. And then, when I wanted to go to college, I was all set. I was ready to apply. I wanted to go to UCLA. That was the school that I wanted to go to, and I wasn't getting the support from my parents that I required to start that process. I was 17 when I graduated, so I didn't have any money. I didn't have any means of even the applications. I think they're $50 a piece, and I couldn't even get that. So I ended up going to Grossmont looking for a different major because my parents were we'll support you if you do something other than theater. Just try to find something other than theater. And I did. I looked really hard. The closest thing to it was communications. And I did really well in my public speaking class. I loved that class.
Yeah.
But I was... all of us artists suffer from it in some form or another. I was depressed.
Yeah.
I was horribly, horribly depressed. And my grades were suffering. My happiness was suffering. I was miserable. And then I auditioned for Romeo and Juliet at Grossmont. And I got the role of Juliet. And I was like, all right, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And my grades shot through the roof. I changed my major. I went for it. And I did over 10 shows at Grossmont. And that's where I met Jerry. That's where
Coach.
I met Brian Rickle. Oh, I love Brian Rickle.
Was he Jerry's partner?
He was actually, I believe, Jerry's student. As was Steve Schmitz, who is no longer at Grossmont, which is a darn shame. And I also met Robbie Letfie through Grossmont as well.
Yeah.
So Robbie opened all kinds of doors for so many of us at Grossmont. I don't know where I'd be without Robbie. I did Blood Wedding with him, and it was one of the hardest performance experiences I've ever gone through.
In what way?
Well, the show was bilingual, so learning Spanish for the show. It was very poetic Spanish, so that was difficult, but I had a role where I was literally cutting my heart out on stage. It was very emotionally taxing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the people in the cast, they didn't have that kind of a role. The roles weren't funny by any means. They were just,
it was
mellower than that. So while I was drowning in a sea of emotions, everybody else was just having a good old time, So that was really hard for me to be able to like have a good time with my castmates, but also commit to this dreadful role that I had to play on stage. And also just like experimenting with different ways of getting into character. Robbie is an amazing director, and he like had us do a bunch of different exercises to get more engaged, not just with our bodies but with our minds, and then also be really engaged with our acting partners. And Daniel Ramos was my acting partner, and we had to go to some really dark places together, and that was scary.
Yeah.
I'd never done that before. But that was one of my last shows at Grossmont until I transferred to SDSU, and now that's where I am. I got a year left, and I'm pursuing a career in theater.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm glad you ended up. That we three ended up all doing theater.
Me too.
Yeah. Like all three of us are latecomers then. Because you switched majors. I didn't start till senior year of high school. And then you officially switched in junior college at Grossmont.
Yeah.
I think everyone in our field has had to deal with some sort of adversity with choosing that career path, just because it is so
up in the air.
It's not financially secure. It's
not a sure thing.
There's so many variables, and it's just one of those things that if you love it, you have to do it.
Well, there are a million reasons not to do something.
Yeah.
And I don't know, after all of these years, like, my parents have come to understand me a little bit better.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do. The bottom line is, like, I want to help people, so I don't necessarily want to end up acting. I want to end up directing later into my career. That's what I want to get my master's in.
What would be the optimal thing or project you could work on?
As in, like, one play?
No, I just mean, like, it could be a play, it could be a movement piece. What are you aiming for? I guess I'm looking for how do you want to help people with theater?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would be something that would epitomize that?
So one of the greatest gifts anybody has ever given me was a director showing me that I can be better than I am. Not just as an actor, but as a person. Mm-hmm. As far as empathy goes, and caring for others. And I don't necessarily know if I've ever gotten that from a teacher as much as I've gotten that from a director. Someone who genuinely is watching my every move, seeing if I'm telling the truth on stage, and, like, truly engaging with me as a human being, and helping these people, these young actors, carry forward and become who they're going to be.
Okay.
I would love to be a part of helping somebody with that and giving that to them. So being a director, one of the reasons, and we'll get into this, one of the reasons I started getting tattoos was because I was like, I'm not doing theater. It's a selfish act. It's 150% for me to fulfill my selfish needs as somebody that needs attention. I'm going to start getting tattoos so I can't get cast in things, so I can't play roles. And it didn't work. I had almost, I had my half sleeve when I got cast in Romeo and Juliet.
But they had to assume, like, a gown, or they were able to...
Well, the costume designer didn't know that I had them when I got cast. When she found out, she was not very happy. And I don't know how I feel about the call they made, but they made me wear a nude bodysuit instead of just designing the costumes with long sleeves. They would have looked fine with long sleeves, if you ask me. I thought it looked odd having me wear a
Could
nude...
you tell from the audience?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely. It looked odd. I was cast in another period piece with the same costume designer, and they were just long sleeved, and they looked amazing. They looked awesome.
Was it Lucky Stuff?
It was These Shining Lives. Yeah, and that was set in the 20s. Yeah, 30s? I forget. But yeah, that's that's why I want to direct. I feel like you get closer to people, a director-actor relationship than a teacher-student relationship.
Yeah. Well, I think it boils down to is that acting is inherently personal.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be close, and even if you're not like doing that thing where sometimes some directors like will like show you what they want, you have to be able to make it real and personal in their mind so that they sense what you're feeling. You good?
Yeah. I was just sitting up.
Oh, okay. So I guess we could go straight into the tattoo, talking about the tattoo then, because
yes.
we checked off a lot of our other questions. I just realized
Just
pretty
talking about
early
the fair,
on.
yeah. The fair,
Yeah.
the fair was.
Well, yeah.
The fair is what brought us together, but it's not the limitation of our conversation today.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The tattoos. The tattoos are a pretty big part of your life, as anyone that knows you knows.
To me, they're normal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like anything like out of the ordinary at all.
Exactly. And I think that we have such a focus in this field on a look.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And but what that means is, I think, is changing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's changing for the better because it is allowing opportunities for people of all shapes and looks and amount of visible tattoos to be cast in all sorts of roles, just because of how, I guess, society is changing and where we're ending. What we value in art is less about, do these people look a certain way, or how. I think it's more how they act.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to fit it with what they're filling that person with, that character.
But in your experience, how has having, I mean, because it hasn't held you back. You've gotten roles,
Mm-hmm.
Not despite of your tattoos. But do you think that you find yourself going for parts that you normally wouldn't get, and your tattoos are becoming a hindrance, or are they helping you get roles?
Are they affecting it in any way that's
Mm-hmm.
visible?
Yes. Okay, so one of the first instances where it became an issue was during Romeo and Juliet. And I don't want to say that it was like an issue, like they had to like change something crazy. They just had me put on a nude bodysuit and it looked weird and I didn't like it. It was very uncomfortable. I thought like a quick easy fix would just be I should say like what they are. I have a 3/4 sleeve that goes down from my shoulder a little bit onto my back down to my forearm.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple on my side, 2 on my foot, and 1 on my thigh. So it's not like I'm like heavily tattooed. Oh, I have 1 on my collarbone as well. It's not that I'm heavily tattooed, but I definitely have more than a standard actor might have, especially at my age. I'm only 23. So, my director, Jen Thomas, for Romeo and Juliet, she pulled me aside one day and she said, I just feel like I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't let you know that it is possible that you may not get roles because of your tattoos. Just as your teacher and even as your friend, I just feel like I need to tell you that. And I said, absolutely. I understand 100%. Flash forward 3 years later, I get cast in a period piece, Blood Wedding, by Federico Lorca. A Lorca piece with the assistant artistic director from Signet Theater directing. And Robbie, who is a young director, casts me in this role knowing that I have tattoos. In some audition like forms, they have you write what you have, if any.
Yeah.
So he knew. And so when the time came to talk about my costume, he cast me as his lead. So when the time came to talk about my costume and what I would be wearing, the costume designer was like, okay, like, how are we going to cover these up? Blah, blah, blah. And he was like, we're not covering them up.
Okay.
And it was like a moment where I realized I don't want to work with somebody that's not paying attention to my acting because of something as small as the markings on my skin.
Okay. Yeah.
That is, I don't want to be picky or anything, but I feel like if I'm going to create a career for myself that I'm proud of, I should be picky about the people that I'm working with, about the people I choose to make art with.
Yes.
And I don't want an old school, director being like, oh no, they obviously don't care about their acting career. They have tattoos. If they're, I don't know, I feel like it's a little small-minded and a little bit old school.
Stuck in the past.
Maybe. But yeah, like, I know that not everybody shares that view with Robbie. And honestly, my costume was, I had my tattoo showing on stage for maybe 5 minutes. And then, because I'm like, it's the scene before the wedding, so I'm putting on my wedding gown and I'm in, like, my underwear pretty much. And then the rest of the play, I'm in the wedding gown and it didn't show anything. I was completely covered the whole time. So I took a risk on purpose because I didn't want to.
I don't think there's anything like strange about that, actually. Like, if anything, I think it's normal to have standards.
Sure.
Like that for you. I mean, for you to want somebody like Robbie to be like that, because like everybody I know, like everybody's like, oh, Mason, like you're black, like why don't you do black? And I'm talking about this. I know some people may disagree, but like my thing has not been about being black. It's just being about the acting. So I can kind of see like what you mean. And there's like other, then not just being black, just like I know other actors who have been, they're more like their thing is they want, rather than being about the acting no matter what you see, they're more about like, I want to tell Latino stories. I want to promote like Latino culture and like, or Asian culture,
Yeah.
I think it's pretty standard now to have something that you're aiming with your acting, and I think it's almost, I wouldn't say a prerequisite, but it's something that gives you you're like, okay, this person, they have a meaning that's deeper beyond like, I want to feel good through doing this.
Yeah.
And that's going to carry them a little bit farther. At least I think that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Sure, you have to have some sort of moral code you live by, and I think that's perfectly valid to, if someone's being that just unwilling to understand or just to approach a role from a different perspective, having someone with a tattoo in that role, that's not someone you shouldn't have to work with, because like you said, that's small-minded, and I think hopefully times will change and we will get past all that, but
sure,
it's a slow process.
I guess like another thing is, if I was directing something, and maybe it's just me, maybe because I'm younger, and the best actor in the room had neck tattoos, I would be like, cover that shit up with makeup, because we can, and because I want them that bad.
Yeah.
It's not even an issue. Like, that's just such a small thing. We are working in an industry. This is an industry, the only industry where somebody can tell you that you don't get a job because of the way that you look.
Yeah.
That this is the only like industry, So I took a risk getting these tattoos and having this art on my body, and I don't regret it at all. It's my body, and it's how I'm supposed to look. It's how I'm supposed to walk through this world. So yeah, I mean, whenever people ask me like, oh, like what are you going to do, I'm like, I'm gonna be fine.
Yeah,
this is how I'm supposed to be.
So I this might be a weird question.
No, go ahead.
Do you think, so like you said, if there was a best actor in the room, what if he was just tiny bit better than the other guy, but he had tattoos, would that affect your decision?
If he's the best actor in the room, then he's
Then
the
no.
best actor in the room. And if he's the best, fit for the role. I do, I wear long sleeves to auditions because that's what I'm most comfortable in.
Yeah.
I don't like wearing spaghetti straps very much, or like tank tops, I guess.
Yeah.
So I wear long sleeves to auditions anyways. I'm not like trying to cover them up. But like for my audition for state, like I rolled up my sleeves so they could see, you know, like I have something going on, and yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Cool. Well,
I think even like with a show like Foxtails, I think that's a great opportunity for just diversity in casting and to highlight that.
Sure.
A show designed for kids that pretty much has no characters. The characters are animals.
Mm-hmm.
There's no look that any director would be going for, you know? And I think that I loved your stork arm with the tattooed arm. Just the contrast of color on both arms.
Yeah, I did too.
I think it added to your whole costume, probably by design.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, 90% of the costumes I've ever worn have completely covered my tattoos.
Which, I mean, we have new plays getting written that hopefully would implement that instead of try and hide it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you want to talk about? Because I know this is like, it seems like an interview on our side, but I'm always pretty open to answering stuff. Because if we want to delve into a couple different topics, we should take a break.
Okay.
Because it won't fit all on one file. Sorry, listening.
Shh, don't tell
It's
them
not
that.
gonna fit.
Stop.
I did, but I was thinking that it was gonna be a natural way to break it off, and then it wasn't.
Well,
So-
normally we do the we'll be right back with the transition, and then we come back in, right?
We'll
That's
right
what we
back.
did with the last one.
But did we do the sound?
I think so. We closed the door halfway.
Watch this too. College men try to figure out.
How to run a podcast.
All right, we'll be right back.
Well, we're already in the second part. Just skip all that. Unless you want to redo it.